Hello and welcome back to Circuit of the Americas, here for round 11 of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series. We are under our first full course yellow. We will get to that in just a moment. First of all, apologies that we have not been successfully streaming to YouTube for the first part of this race. However, the full race will be uploaded after the completion of the event. Currently in the lead of the Mustang classes, JD Baumgartner has been dominating today. He started alongside Sean Vandergriff, who has been falling back. Steve Brown has moved up into second, and Panu Pessanen rounds out the top three. Meanwhile, in the Miata class, Amjad Yamin is in the lead after passing James Stevenson. Sergio Mura is in third. Zejanis has been on the march, as has Arthur Chan in sixth place, although he did have contact with William Brandleman early in the race, so we'll see if that comes back to haunt them. Meanwhile, the reason for our caution is James Alex Brown. He simply just lost control of his Mustang over one of the curbs, put the front end in the wall, a lot of smoke coming out of the car, and he is probably done for the day, Richard.
Yes, indeed. He is he's sitting just outside the entry to the pits at the moment, and he's not even in the pits. The yellow cones are still in front of him, so he's getting a tow, no doubt, from that position. I'm not quite sure. As we see cars streaming into the pits now. Oh, I see what happened. The pits were closed. That's why he did not enter the pits. Now he does enter the pits, still smoking pretty heavily. So they'll all go into the pits. He has lost a full lap there in the process of that, Samuel. So I think his day might well be done.
Yeah, and all the Miatas in too. There's only one car that stayed out on the track, and that is Panu Pessanen. So we'll wait and see how that plays out for him. I really don't get James Brown's strategy. I mean, sorry, I understand damage limitation and all that, but honestly, I think it's game over for him. Meanwhile, JD Baumgartner wins the race off pit road, and look who's right behind him, 49 Motorsports teammate Elliot Huffman.
Indeed. And I tell you what, JD Baumgartner must be hating the fact that the caution came out now. He had a huge lead over Steve Brown in second place. Now that lead is gone, as they will all close up for the restart, Samuel. So he'll have to do it all over again. But on the other hand, he has been the fastest car out yet today. Steve, though, has got pace. There's no doubt about it. He has shown that in making some really good passes, particularly on Sean Vandergriff. And now he will have JD Baumgartner directly in front of him. Actually, no, that's not the case. Panu Pessanen stayed out, so he will lead the restart. And in fact, Steve Brown is 4 cars back there. So he's in fourth at the moment on the restart. So he lost a few positions in the pits there, Samuel.
Yeah, quite a bit of a change in the order. Not entirely odd to see Panu Pessanen stay out, because maybe he just thought, hey, this racing back here is a bit too much for me. I see JD Baumgartner running away with the lead out in clean air. Why don't I try and get some of that clean air? Meanwhile, Bill, what changes have we seen amongst the ST, the Miata field, under that round of stops?
Well, the doctor of pitstology came in first and went out first. That's Amjad Yamin. But what's interesting is Stefan Overgaard. He was running in fifth position, and he's jumped Stevenson, Mora, and Giannis now to be running right behind Yamin in second place, as Yamin's the leader. Well, I was talking to Richard during the break, and he didn't think we could, Richard, maybe we can follow up on this. He didn't think you could get to the end from here with one more stop, but maybe the yellow was long enough. Can these guys get to the end with one more, or do you think they have to still take 2 stops to get there?
Well, the normal is 2 stops, right? So you stop sort of halfway through. You can't get to 1 hour, so you've got to have a second stop for a splash and dash to get through to the race. So this is a top-up. Everybody topped up, excepting for Stefan Overgaard. Stefan Overgaard has been playing this card in a number of races now, and has in fact jumped a number of positions by doing that. He has either short fueled or taken no fuel at all, and no tire. So he's maybe just had a little splash, and that's put him in second position now. How long he can hang on to that, I don't know. So they will have to stop at least, let me see, they're 30 minutes in. They can get perhaps another 50 minutes. that will put them on 80 minutes, so they'll need another stop after that for the last 20 minutes or so, Bill.
So it's going to be interesting. If I'm with you. I'm not sure they can stretch it on one stop here. It seems like they're still too early. They're going to have to take 2 stops. But is that what you're saying? You think they have 2 stops yet to go? They can't get here with 1 more stop?
Oh, absolutely. They've got 2 stops to go. But this is all about tactics. You know, if you get an early caution, why not go in and top up your fuel and see how far that can take you? Because what it does do, it allows you to take very little fuel on the last stop, the second stop, and that's what it's all about.
And the pace car is in. Panu Pessanen is going to want to try and get as great as a restart as possible, because we've seen the pace that JD Baumgartner has, and he has not got on the... Oh, now he's got on the gas. It just takes him a while to get... No, he's still not on the gas. Boy, he's really waiting a long time for the green flag to come out. Now it comes out, and all the Mustangs are in the row behind him. They're all going to be attempting to pass each other up the hill here. The top 2 are pretty clean, and as I say, that JD goes down the inside. Who's that making a big run down the inside? That's Steve Brown. But so far, no contact. It's all clean through the first turn. Panu Pessanen retains the lead. What does the Miata start look like, Bill?
Well, Yama's way out in front, but Stevenson made short work of Overgaard. Then Overgaard came back on him. I'm not sure if Stevenson's maybe giving him the spot back from passing. And now here goes Stevenson again inside of Overgaard. So these guys are going back and forth.
So while they're playing switcheroo back there in the ST field, but meanwhile it is Panu Pessanen leading the Mustang, although JD Baumgartner is all over the back of him, and now the overtaking opportunities are coming up. The left-hander hairpin down at the bottom of the hill, and that's where Baumgartner looks to make his move.
And Steve Brown on Sean van der Griff. Once again, the two of them are battling. Steve Brown makes the move on him, but he gets caught up behind Elliot Huffman there, who was struggling to get through the turn. Now Sean van der Griff is going to try and come back on the inside as they go down the long back straightaway there. Steve Brown hanging on the outside. Sean van der Griff coming at him on the inside. Very long straightaway this, and then a tight left hand at the end of it. Steve Brown gives up the position rather than have a fight with Sean van der Griff. Well, there will be other opportunities for him to try and make the pass. But Panu Pessanen hanging on. Steve Brown still on Sean van der Griff. Very exciting stuff here as they go through an S section. He takes the place away once again, but now they come up to another left-hander. He's got it done though, and pretty exciting racing and pretty tough racing. You got to hang tough here, Samuel, because I tell you what, there's just turn after turn.
Yeah. And while JD Baumgartner has taken the lead and already putting a gap on them, we will notice Steve Brown's in a bit of a different paint scheme this week. A white and black car being sponsored by Happy Tails Roughstart.org, which is actually awarding cash prizes to the winner and podium sitters. And in fact, anyone... Oh, he's donating money based on where he finishes. He's going to donate $20 to the Happy Tails Roughstart.org if he wins, $5 if he gets on the podium, and he's going to donate 50 cents for every single lap that he completed. And right now, those safety cars are going to make that lap count a little bit lower. But meanwhile, Bill, back in the ST field, you notice Stefan Overgaard has fallen back a bit and actually has a bit of a trilly train behind him.
Oh. Yuri Yanas and Sergio Mora are running out of patience. They're losing touch with Yaman and Stevenson, who are pulling away, and they are dying to get around Overgaard, who is doing everything to hold them back. In fact, Mora tried to get around Overgaard, and Yanis made the move into 4th place. These guys are really being aggressive on Stefan there. What does Joe Peak call him? The Flying Smurf? Is that right, Director? Is that what he's called? He's going to be the crying Smurf pretty soon if he doesn't let these guys by.
Yeah, hopefully he'll keep flying. But meanwhile, talking about flying, Elliot Huffman, who had a good stop, is holding his ground so far in the field in 3rd place, and he's looking for 2nd over Panu Pessanen, and Panu has actually got a bit of a trolley train going on here. Elliot Huffman in third, Steve Brown in fourth, Sean van der Griff is back in fifth, and Doljon Boldrin in sixth. They're all spread out now, but that's because they're on the long straight. Just wait until they get into these tight and twisty turns down on the bottom of a hill right there here. Then they're all going to bunch up again. Panu doing a good job to hold on to his position so far, which shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. He was running in fifth before the first full course yellow, so moving up to second is certainly an advantage, especially if they go green to the end and they'll all have to make 2 stops, as Richard said before the restart.
Well, guys, let me tell you that if you look at the championship, Nicholas Bailey is not here today. As we see Steve Brown making a move there on Elliot Huffman, gets it down the touch. But no harm done, thank goodness. That was pretty risky there, but Steve got away with that. He passed Elliot Huffman for that position, and that is indeed the 3rd place. So some very tough racing going on here at the moment, Samuel. Nicholas Bailey is not here today, and that means that Elliot Huffman in 2nd place is fighting as hard as he can to try and perhaps win this race, although he's struggling just at the minute now, Steve Brown having passed him. Steve Brown, the big mover here, he's in 4th place in the championship. He is in front of Sean van der Griff, who's in 3rd place in the championship. So Steve has it all to fight for as well. All of these guys, Sean van der Griff, who is in 3rd place in the championship, now fighting with Elliot Huffman. They go side by side into the long... Gee, this is a very good racing from all of these guys, I have to say. And Sean van der Griff gets away with that, passes Elliot Huffman right there, and now the battle resumes once again as Elliot comes back at him. Samuel?
Yeah, Huffman's been losing spots, as right after I mentioned that he was doing good. Another driver who's been losing spots, Bill, it looks like Stefan Overgaard is finally beginning to lose that train. That train is passing on by.
Yeah, Giannis got around him, and I got to give Stefan some cred here. He did a good job hanging on to Giannis, but now Morris got around him. And the guy that I said to keep an eye on now, we get a good guide of how fast he really is Arthur Chan. That yellow flag brought him back into the hunt. I think Arthur might have the pace to get up around Overgaard as well. That's going to be a good battle between Overgaard and Chan for 5th place. And farther back, it's Bill Randleman. You know, he had that problem where he got punted, so now he'll be in good shape there with that yellow flag. Is going to bring him back in there. Randleman and Reinhold.
Meanwhile, Brown has moved his way up to 2nd, so he's still on the run. The battle continues. Well, actually, it's not much of a battle. Boldrin just goes right on by, and off goes Paul Hessler. So he completely missed his breaking point right there, but no harm, no foul. So Huffman continues to fall back. Brown continues to move forward. As we get a replay of Paul Hessler, I think you're just going to see him completely overshoot his marks. Meanwhile, talking about sticking it in there, James Alex Brown, who brought out our first full course yellow, despite me thinking that car was totaled, he is actually back out there on the circuit running 10th in the GS class right now. And with such a small field, why not try and get as many points as you can? Because if this does turn into a race of attrition, which honestly I don't think it will, but if it does, James Brown may be able to pick out off some handy points today.
Well, I can tell you he's a couple of laps down on the GS field, but he's also right behind or well behind the ST field. So he could be a problem for the ST drivers in a couple of laps time as he catches up to them, although at this point it's not a problem. Steve Brown, on the other hand, in 2nd place now. Really good pass that he made there on Panu Pessonen. And Sean van der Griff has got it back up. I think he's got some new tires there, and he's showing pace once again as he now sizes up Panu Pessonen for that 3rd place. And Dujon Boldrin made a good move on Elliot Huffman and got past him, and is now moving away. Elliot Huffman struggling there now. I don't understand that, Samuel. He was in the pits with the other guys, got some new tires, no doubt, unless he did not. I did not check that, but he's struggling at the moment.
Well, we gained a lot of spots during the round of cycles, so maybe he didn't take tyres, and maybe that's what's costing him. Meanwhile, Bill, you're noticing the battle back end, and me others.
Sergio Mora got around Yuri Giannis for 3rd place now, so he has Mora has Yaman and Stevenson ahead of him. Giannis files into 4th place. That's where they were before the pit stop. Overgaard's been able to hang on to 5th place, and Chan is hanging in there in 6th place. So those are your top 6 in the ST class.
And meanwhile, back in the Mustang class, Baumgartner is leading Brown, and Pessinen is still holding third place down pretty well. And we have just got word that David Wammond, one of the other drivers, has retired, and not entirely sure why. Van der Griff almost runs into the back of Pessinen as they go into the turn, but doesn't. Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Van der Griff and Baldwin round out the top 5 in the Mustang field.
I tell you what, the metaphors are flying today from all of us, and some of them, Van der Griff closing right up on the back of Pessinen, nearly hit him there. The number of times that these guys have either just touched or nearly touched, it's been many. And I tell you what, Sean Van der Griff was as close as he'll ever be to hitting Panu Pessinen right in the rear there as he closes up once again. He wants that position. He needs that position. He wants to get ahead of Panu, who's not in the top 5, and it's just costing him points in the championship at the moment, so he must get by. But Steve Brown is running a great race here. He's trying his hardest to catch up to JD, but obviously, Samuel, this is JD's track. He is on fire at the moment.
The battle for third continues in ST class. Mora has got... whoa, what's happened to Giannis? He has lost a ton of time. Did he have an off, Bill?
He had a slowdown penalty. He made a move on it. He couldn't get it done, and it cost him a slowdown penalty. So now he's fallen back behind Overgaard. He's right in there. That would be, 5th place now, with Chan right behind him.
Meanwhile, guys, let me just say, before you go ahead, Samuel, that JD Baumgartner, our race leader in the GS class, has just lapped James Alex Brown, understandably with such bad damage. Touch and go there again. He had to back it down quite a bit to not get into contact with James Alex Brown. So he continues to lead, but he's just put another lap on James Alex Brown.
There's a criticism of new racing tracks that don't have grass on the gravel or the side of them, that paving them with asphalt just makes them a giant parking lot where you can run wherever. And Giannis is completely taking advantage of that today, Bill.
Yeah, I hate it. Now, what's interesting, Giannis is really not in the points battle, so he can afford to maybe be a little faster and cost him some points if he wants to stay in the hunt. You take that and you take that same philosophy and you go up to our leader, Amjad Yaman. He's really got to be careful. You lose points for too many off-track incidents here. So these drivers like Yaman and Stevenson, they have to be fast, but they got to keep it on the track. Yaman could actually win this race.
What's happened to Overgaard? He just made a mistake, it looks like, and lost 2 spots. Giannis is back up into 3rd.
Yeah, it looks like a slowdown penalty for Overgaard, but I don't see it. But yeah.
Well, so
guys, let's just go back to a GS class here as we see the battle still in full cry between Sean Van der Griff and Panu Pessinen. They're passing James Alex Brown now. Sean Van der Griff closing once again on Panu. Panu not phased by that. Panu running a very, very good race. Just keeps it on line, keeps it on the track as we see Sean Van der Griff now getting on the inside of Panu Pessinen as I speak in the last turn, going onto the front straight. Panu, what's happened to Panu? Panu is side by side with him. Sean Van der Griff on the inside and Panu on the outside. He will have to give way, one would imagine, into the tight left-hander turn number 1. Yes, he does. He gives it up. And behind him, Dujon Baldwin wanting a piece of the action as well. I tell you what, this is some great, great racing from the GS drivers, even though the field is so small.
Huffman and Overgaard, we don't believe they took tyres on their stop and they've been falling back. Pessinen has really been impressing me because we know he didn't take tyres because he didn't stop at all, but he's still able to hand with these guys. Sean Van der Griff has had a couple of close calls regarding incidents today, but he hasn't hit anyone. It's finally paid off with him in 3rd with only JD Baumgartner and Sean Brown in front of him. So if Sean can pull away, this battle will be on for 4th as Panu Pessinen, although he's holding ground, he is dropping back slowly but surely. Doldrum Baldwin and Elliot Huffman are the next 2 behind.
That's correct. And let me just say to you guys that I don't think anybody, Steve Brown or the others, are too worried by JD Baumgartner being in the lead of this race. Sure, it would be nice to be leading yourself, but JD Bumgardner is not in the hunt for the championship, and that's the critical thing. These other guys behind him are, and Pano is not in the hunt for the championship at this moment. But certainly Dujon Baldwin and Elliot Huffman and Sean van der Griff are. So these guys are battling as hard as they can to pass each other. They don't care too much about the JD Bumgardners and in fact the Panu Pessinens, although Panu must be just outside. I have to check that. He might be just outside the top 5. But fierce racing between these guys on a really tough track, Samuel.
And it's not fierce racing up the front. JD Baumgartner currently holds a pretty significant lead over Steve Brown, but it looks like Steve actually took 3 tenths out of his time, so we will keep an eye on that to see if they begin to close in on each other. However, we'll keep our cameras on this scramble going on in the middle of the Mustang field. They actually just completed 15 laps. JD Baumgartner ran a 2:26.6. Steve Brown ran a 2:26.3. So yeah, that's something we'll certainly keep an eye on. And Panu Passanen is into the pits. Remember, he did not pit under the first full course yellow.
And 45 minutes in, so he's decided he's run as much laps as he can on those tires and that fuel. So keep that in mind. 45 minutes and they've come back in. So that will answer some of your questions because it'll be something similar in the ST class, Bill.
That's interesting. Now, just to follow up on what Sam was talking about, we got interrupted when we had some excitement going on. I've been watching Anjid Yaman, and he's having a heck of a time keeping his car on the gray and off of the green. Now, I'm not sure where those incident points are going to pick up, but I just from watching it, my gut tells me that Yaman has got way more incident points than Stevenson, who's chasing him, not only on the track, but in the standings as well. So Yaman has got to be careful about getting too many deducted points away from him here, or even if he were to get the win, it's not going to be as much as an advantage as he could have hoped for.
There's a possibility that Stevenson could be saving fuel, although granted, it looked like Yamin actually went a bit defensive down the front stretch there to break the draft, so I'm sure the race is on. Stevenson obviously not going to try anything this early on that's too stupid, but hey, if the door doesn't open, why not save a bit of gas, especially considering that they all pitted, in my opinion, right on the verge of being able to make it on one more stop if they got a couple more safety cars.
And guys, if I can just jump in here, and I know I'm not calling ST today, but I can tell you from knowing these guys pretty well that James Stevenson is just keeping him in sight and just watching him. Amjad is struggling to stay ahead of him. Stevenson is sitting back there thinking, well, I don't really have to try too hard. He's going to make a mistake eventually, and I'll get past that way. Make no mistake, he's racing hard, but he's not racing to the point, where he's on the limit. I think he's racing within his limits, James.
Well, Sam and Richard, to talk strategy, and I was talking with Joe Peak about this last
Look
race.
at him back off. Look at him back off. I'm sorry. They're going down that long straight. He actually backs the car off to stay behind Yaman. He's playing a game with this guy.
We saw Sergio Mora do an interesting pit strategy where he went long and ran it to fumes, and then when the late yellow came out, it really put him in a good situation. It's going to be interesting here. It seems to me that you would want to pit as early as you could. The last thing you want to do is get stuck out there on the track having to make a pit stop when the guy that you're racing has already made one. So I'm not sure. It seems to me as soon as I could get done, I would come in and make my pit stop here. So it's interesting. Nobody's doing it, so I must be wrong, but I would want to come in at my first possible opportunity.
Meanwhile, back up in the Mustang field, Van der Griff has lost a couple of spots. Baldwin has actually moved into third place in the Mustang class. Elliot Huffman has rebounded up to fourth. Remember, he was actually moving back earlier, but it seems he must have saved his stuff because he's making a bit of a rebound here. Sean Van der Griff, maybe he's used up his stuff because he may be under threat for fifth position now by Arthur Hermont.
Well, Samuel, that happened in the first stint as well. And you can see now Arthur Hermont coming up on the back of him, has a look on the inside there. Sean Van der Griff goes really hard in that first few laps trying to make up positions. And I think you're right. He kind of uses up all his resources early on and then starts to fall back. but he's still in the hunt. There's no mistake. I mean, he's not falling back drastically, but Arthur Hermont now starting to figure in the equation, and behind them you've got that pumpkin-colored car there of Jeff Jacobs a little way off them. But back up the front, Elliot Huffman lost the position to Dujon Boldrin, but he's keeping him in sight and keeping him in touch. But then, of course, these guys are now way behind Steve Brown, and Steve Brown himself is further behind JD Bumgardner. Really, JD just running away with this thing, which to me is just it's a little bit mystifying. JD has not shown that kind of form in previous races, but here he is absolutely running away with it. Comes onto the front straight once again. Steve Brown is half of the straight behind him, Samuel.
Meanwhile, on the back straight, Paul Hessler, currently running 8th in the Mustang class, actually had a spin and put it in the wall pretty hard. He's got a lot of front end damage to his number 034 car, and it looks like the handling is off a little bit. I wouldn't be too surprised if he brings that into the pits this lap.
Yeah, just having a look at him at the moment.
It happened as he was going onto the backstretch.
Yeah, I'm looking at him at the moment. I'm also looking at Panu Pessonen, who remember pitted a late pit stop. And I take your point, what you said there, Bill. Staying out and making your pit stop is a totally different strategy. So don't be surprised that he's kind of in 9th place. He's just on a completely different strategy. We'll have to see how that plays out for him. But right now, all single file. Doesn't seem to be any battles going on unless we are looking at the battle with Arthur Hermont and, of course, Sean van der Grijp. But Sean seems to be able to hang on to that position. So back to you, Samuel.
Yeah, we just saw a replay there of Paul Hessler just getting too much curb on the exit and basically spinning. He has brought it into the pits. Meanwhile, talking about the lack of battles, Yarmin and Stevenson on top of each other for first and second in Miata, but we've already talked about that we think Stevenson is saving fuel. Meanwhile, let's talk about Mura, because he's kind of been the quiet driver today, Bill. He's sitting in a podium position, but he is also sitting third in the points, and if we get to the closing laps and Stevenson and Yarmin begin banning doors and, heaven forbid, take each other out, Mura could pick up a win, and he's not that far back in points. He could be challenging for the points lead.
Well, here's what's going on. I'm not really so sure how hard Yarmin and Stevenson are actually racing. Richard pointed out Stevenson certainly isn't pressuring that hard, and I don't think Amjad Yarmin would be that heartbroken to be running second right now. The guy who is putting in the hot laps and trying to close these guys in, run them down, is Sergio Mora. He's knocked off about 4 seconds off the last couple laps. He's flying to catch these guys. He was 10 seconds back of them just a little while ago. Now he's only 6 seconds back of them. So he's racing like there's no tomorrow, and there is tomorrow. There's 2 more races left. But he's really racing hard right now to get up there and see if he can get in there so that he won't have to worry so much about having such a perfect pit stop. 1 race less. Thank you, Director.
1 race left after this race. Meanwhile, I was just taking a look at the lap times in the Mustang field to see if there were any drivers closing in on each other. It looks like Steve Brown had a bad lap because he was running 228s, whereas the majority of the field, it seems, in single file, at least at the front, can run 227s. Boldrin actually put it in the 226s, so now he's running away from the pack. Maybe he'll try and run down Steve Brown, although granted there is a big gap in between them. And really, honestly, Richard, for the first time this race, all the Mustang drivers are getting a breather. They've been battling pretty much for the first 50 minutes.
Yeah, that first stint was pretty intense for all of these drivers. It looks like they've got their second win now. Steve Brown certainly is putting the chase on, and looks like JD Bumgardner is still out in front. I want to see what the distance is when they get back on the front straight again, because I don't know that Steve is 5.6 seconds back. I don't know whether he's made up any time or not. We'll have to wait and see. But the battle out behind them, there's only one battle taking place, and that's between Arthur Hermont and Sean van der Grijp. It's not an intense battle at this stage, with Arthur just sitting behind Sean now for quite a number of laps. But he is within striking range, and perhaps he will try something in the next lap or so.
Let's talk about another battle where someone's in strike. Oh, and actually there is a battle going on. Here goes Arthur Hermont down the inside. Clean pass, or maybe not. No, the battle is on here.
It is on, but he kind of backs out of it when the going gets tough, and Sean van der Griff comes back. Sean's fighting hard to stay in that position, as he must, of course. And these guys have to... Gee, this is a tough track. I hate this track with an absolute passion, I have to say, guys. I was not too unhappy when GSRC said we want you to broadcast instead of race.
There is a reason why I got Bill to do the track facts at the start of this race in the opening segment. But meanwhile, while that battle's going on, I've noticed another battle in the Miata class, Bill, and that's Giannis in front of Stefan Overgaard. But I have a feeling we're seeing something similar here to what we're seeing at the front of the ST field, and that's even though Overgaard could make a move on Giannis, he seems to just be willing to sit in position and save fuel.
Yeah, I think Overgaard is really aware of fuel strategy. And just to follow up on what we talked about with Sergio Mora, where he was 10 seconds back, then 6 seconds back, he's now 5 seconds back behind Yaman and Stevenson.
Sorry, Bill, I don't know if Brown's been involved in another collision, but he's got smoke pouring out the back of that Mustang. It may finally be James Brown. It may finally be game over for James Alex Brown.
Well, I tell you what, for just half a second there, I thought you meant Steve Brown, and my heart popped into my mouth right there, because I would hate to see that happen to Steve. But no, Steve Brown's all right. That was James Alex Brown. Looks like his engine may have expired once again, so tough day for him. But tell you what, guys, the battle between Elliot Huffman and Dujan Boldrin has heated up, I should say. And he's having a good look at Dujan Boldrin again. Currently not intense at this point in time, but certainly he's within striking distance. As we see Sean van der Griff go really offline there, coming out of that left-hander, and that has given Arthur Hermont an opportunity going down that long back straight to maybe make a move on him. He closes up. Will he have enough to get in front of him before the turn? He's on the inside. He has a big look. He's braking late. He's got the initial pass done. Can he hang on to it now? That is the question. Sean van der Griff allows him to hang on to it. Sean van der Griff has nothing left to come back at him with. So Arthur Hermont picks up that spot, and great racing from him right there, Samuel.
Yeah, and Sean did a nice job to hold him off a lap before, but I have a feeling eventually realised, oh no, I might want to give it to him, although granted, that might not be the case, because Hermont just made a mistake. That's not exactly the best overtaking opportunity. In fact, it's not really an overtaking opportunity at all that they're going through. Van der Griff, though, still trying to peek his nose out, but maybe he's just checking where the apex is, trying to get a better view of the next corner. And we're getting word from James Alex Brown that he has called it game over. But let's keep our attention here, because I don't think Van der Griff actually wants to give up a battle to Hermont. I don't know, these two might begin battling again, and if they do, not too far behind them is Jeff Jacobs, who might begin to crawl his way into this battle for 5th place.
Well, yes, indeed, and Sean could not get the job done there. Good job from Arthur to stay on track. Arthur's having plenty of bobbles as he tries to negotiate the tough corners here. You know, some of these corners look really easy. For instance, the S's that they are going through right now after turn 1, they are very, very difficult, particularly in a big, heavy car like this. And you can see them on the brakes, off the brakes, just trying to keep the car steady through these turns. It's slightly easier in the MX-5s, but still not an easy track. I won't go on with the hate mail for this track, but I will tell you it is tough here, and I take my hat off to anyone who's successful at this track, because it certainly tests you.
Stefan Morian just came into the pits. We got 1 hour and 5 minutes left in this race. What do you think the strategy is there, Bill?
Yeah, I was just checking to see. Now, I don't think you can go. We got 1 hour and 5 left. I don't think you can run from here. If you could, it's a smart move, but I think it's too early to come in.
Look, he's crawling. He's actually almost stopping on the track to let the Mustang of Panu Pessanen by. Oh no, Stefan Morian might have an issue here.
Oh, I don't know if he's as much as he is the friendly Canadian. He was running in last place. So I don't think there's any need to battle. But I got to talk about Sergio Mora. We've been watching him. He's now got it down to about 4 seconds behind Stevenson and Yaman. You know, if I was the crew chief for Yaman and Stevenson, I say, I know you guys are taking it easy, but you're going to let Mora back into the game here. So I'd really like to see Yaman and Stevenson pick up the pace a little bit. There's no reason to make this a 3-car battle when it could be a 2-car battle.
Absolutely.
And guys, I'm seeing Sean Van der Griff was going really slowly for a while there. Jeff Jacobs now right on the back of Sean Van der Griff. I wasn't watching immediately what was going on. I can only imagine that there's an ST car in front of them that it had. That's Tom Eckline that they were slowing up. It's very tight to pass here. Even a Mustang on ST. A Mustang on MX-5. You got to wait for the straightaways really to pass. Through the corners, these ST cars, Bill, are almost just as fast as the Mustangs.
Yeah, and Richard, to follow back, let's go back and talk about Stefan Morian coming in this early. Now, he makes his pit stop here. If he were to get a bunch of yellow flags from here, in theory, he could be done. These guys have all got to come in now ahead of time. So if the yellow comes out now, or let's say the yellow comes out in the next 15 minutes. Everybody's come in. Stefan could stay out. He'd be in front. If he gets a series of yellow flags, he might be able to go the distance. So maybe not a bad idea to come in and roll the dice a little bit. At least let's give him the benefit of the doubt that he's doing some outside-the-box thinking.
I don't see a lot of yellow flags coming, Richard.
Yeah, well, that's right. I was just going to say, if you're in last place, as he is at the moment, well, he's not in last place, but he's in second last place anyway. David Whammond, who's retired, will be the last place getter in this race. But if you are in close to last place, you must roll the dice to try and get something going in your favor. If you're in first place, I wouldn't be rolling the dice that hard, because if it doesn't pay off and you can't make the distance and you run out of fuel, you've lost a lot of points, and of course you've lost the race as well.
We're approaching the halfway mark here at Circuit of the Americas, and it has been relatively quiet recently. The current race orders: Grady Baumgartner has been dominating the Mustang field in front of Steve Brown and Doldron Baldwin. Elliot Huffman and Sean Vandergriff round out the top 5 in the GS class. Jeff Jacobs, Arthur Hermont and Panu Pessanen round out the field. Paul Hessler has returned to the track in the GS car, but he is multiple laps down. James Alex Brown has retired, and Jason Poisson did not start the race. What's it like in the Miata class, Bill?
Well, we've been talking a lot about the top 5, Yaman, Stevens, Morris, Giannis, and Overgaard. That's pretty much been pretty steady. Let's go ahead and give a little screen time to Arthur Chan. I thought he kind of disappointed me. He led me on there like the girl next door who never really wanted to go out with me in the first place. So he's going to run in 6th place. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to run up there in the top 5 like I thought he was. Running in 7th place is Bill Randleman. Matthew Reinhold running there in 8th place. And a guy we haven't given much attention to here. Let's see if we can find him. There he is. Tom Eckline running there in that dark-colored car, running in 9th place in the class. And then, of course, Stefan Morian still on the same lap with those guys, who has already made his pit stop and has that out of the box thinking to maybe get to the end. Come on, Stefan, you can do it. Let's get this picture. Can we get a picture of Stefan there? That's a nice paint job. That's from Zon Skins Paint Shop. Do a little self-serving promotion there. Nice Turn 2 Motorsports, the old trademark there on that one. Okay, I'm done.
Well, 30 seconds until the halfway point. Obviously, we probably will see a couple more laps in the second half, because we may not see a safety car period, and also they may take a white flag at a certain point where the clock is almost expired. But right now, Grady Baumgartner, I'm pretty sure, doesn't really care how many laps there are, as long as he keeps up front right here. He's just having a Sunday drive as he puts a lap on one of the Miata cars, trying to work out who that is. That was Bill Randleman, who went for a spin earlier off of a bumper of Arthur Chan. Hasn't really had the chance to retaliate, though. I'm pretty sure he may have already forgot about it. So, Grady Baumgartner just laying them down, and as we enter the second half of the race, so these battles, when they appear, Richard, are going to get a little bit more fierce as the drivers know that the clock is beginning to run out.
Yeah, well, we've still got half of the race to go. This is the time of the race where you kind of you're well settled in now. You know the capabilities of your car. You've tried every different line on the track, so you know which is the best line for your particular setup to take. You know the limitations of your tires, all that sort of thing. So you can see that JD Baumgartner just putting down steady laps. Same with Steve Brown. Arthur Hermond a little way further back, he lost out, and Jeff Jacobs actually got past him, and Jeff Jacobs are looking at Sean van der Griff. So a couple of guys, Sean van der Griff and in fact Arthur Hermond, who seem to be running their cars perhaps too hard, and they actually going slightly backwards as each lap passes by. On the other hand, I haven't checked in with Panu Pessanen recently. He's been putting down steady laps as well. Remember, he is completely off strategy from the others on pit stops. So at this stage, halfway through the race, there's still at least one pit stop to go. This is where you run your tank completely dry, Bill. And I should comment, by the way, that Mrs. Zahn is probably very happy that girl next door had no interest in you, man.
Oh, she's happy because she likes you. She's just glad you're on the broadcast today. She's a sucker for that sucker for that Australian accent, Sammy.
Yes, and I will make sure to note that I do have a British accent. I'm not putting this on. This is my real voice. JD Baumgartner, for anyone out there who's interested. JD Baumgartner currently has the fastest lap of a race, and we were looking at Panu Pessanen there. He currently holds the third fastest lap of a race. The second fastest lap of a race is held by Steve Brown, who runs in second position. JD Baumgartner's fastest lap has been a 2:26.0, which was a couple of tenths off what he was running in practice and qualifying, down in the 2:25s, although granted there's probably a bit of fuel difference there. And really, fastest lap at the end of a race, I don't think it counts for any points in this series, does it, Richard?
I'm sorry, I was watching a battle. Can you just repeat that question? Sorry, Samuel.
Fastest lap in this series doesn't count for any points.
No, it does not, as far as I know. Certainly leading laps and leading a lap will definitely get you a bonus. Finishing on the lead lap, the different percentages get you bonus points, all kinds of bonuses, but no, fastest lap, no.
All right. Well, certainly by putting the fastest lap, JD Baumgartner is running away and getting some of those points. Bill?
Just this was interesting. I saw Paul Hessler. Now, he's running well down the field in the Mustangs. He got up into the lead cars of the ST class. He was in there battling with Giannis and Overgaard. And he actually backed out of that, let those guys have their battle, and he's come into the pits right now. That's kind of nice of him. He didn't want to mess them up. Come in, get that pit stop out of the way. Maybe he can go the distance from here.
Maybe he can, because 53 minutes is just on the edge of the window, or the edge of the fuel window. It's still going to be tough. He'll have to conserve a little bit, but he could get to the end. I'll have to check exactly what the elapsed time. iRacing doesn't really give you the proper elapsed time, so that's more than really what has elapsed, isn't it, Samuel?
Yeah, iRacing doesn't give you the elapsed time, but fortunately GSRC does, and you can see in the top left of your screen here, we have 55 minutes and 40 seconds left to go. And you also see that Stevenson not willing to make a move on Yarmin just yet. He is trying to save fuel. And I've got to start the wonder, Bill. These guys came in to the pits. What time was that? That was within about the first quarter of an hour, I think. Surely they must be running on fumes by now.
That's what Richard and I were talking about, is that they couldn't get one stop to here. I think they're running as long as they can. I'm not sure. I would have pitted long ago, but that's me. If I was Arthur Chan's crew chief, I'd be bringing him in right now, topping off, getting fresh tires, and then hoping for a yellow flag, and I'm going to be out in front. So that's what I would do. But that's I wear tie-dyed psychedelic pants as well. So
I think these guys are playing the safety card here, Bill. Like the James Stevenson's being extremely smart. He could attack Amjad Yaman. In fact, Amjad at this point is probably
Hey, there's a battle for
wanting
fourth. In the
Yeah.
others, look, here goes Overguard down the inside of Giannis. That was unexpected.
Yeah, and Giannis is going to come back at him there. Overguard's been behind him for most of the race, and here goes Giannis to the inside. Careful, boys. No reason to cause trouble this early, and Giannis is going to back out and let Stefan lead a little bit.
Yeah, well, back to what I was saying. James Stevenson playing it very smart at the moment. Let's just sit behind Amjad Yaman. The time for racing is not now. There is still over 50 minutes to go. The time for racing is in the last 10 minutes of this race. Now, Stevenson is a good campaigner, as is Yaman. Yaman's content to actually probably slow it down a little bit, guys, and let's just coast a little bit and save as much fuel. I don't agree with your thinking there, Bill. You want to run it onto the fumes now and put in as you'll top it up, no doubt. And what you want to do then is make sure that you've got enough fuel to finish. Regardless of the fact of cautions, you can't, and this track you just can't, depend on a caution to come out because it might not happen at all.
Look at this. Mora is definitely, he's not within striking distance of the top two Miatas yet, but he can see them certainly down that backstretch. When does Stevenson begin to panic and think, maybe I've got to make a move on Amjad Yaman? There's still 52 minutes left in this race, Bill, but the longer they ride like this, the more Mora's gonna run them down.
Yeah, but there's no big worry there. They teammates, don't forget. They both race for AMS Racing, as do I and Bill Randleman and Stefan Overgaard and a whole bunch of other guys.
Yeah, but there's no way Amjad Yaman wants two of those guys behind him right now. He could deal with Stevenson. To deal with Stevenson and Mora might be too much to handle. I brought this up a few laps ago, and Yaman has picked up the pace. It's been about just over 4 seconds with Mora. I think Yaman's got him on his F3 screen and knows where he is. And here comes Amjad, the doctor of pitstology, like I said, coming in at your first chance, although I think he's probably pretty much out of gas right now.
I think he ran out of fuel, mate.
I think he's out of gas, yeah. I do too.
Well, now, this puts AMS 1 and 2 at this point in time. But bear in mind, these two guys, Samuel, they are 2 and 3 in the championship. Even though they are teammates, that is not going to count for much when push comes to shove, because they are still battling for the championship points. So expect these guys to battle hard as it comes close to the end. But right now, they're not battling. But you are so right. Hey, Mura is absolutely just steaming along and catching James Stevenson, who's probably been sitting just quietly behind Yaman. Now, Yaman's already pitted. These guys go an extra lap or two if they can, then take a lot of fuel, and we see what happens. But hey, yeah. I'm not the ST commentator. What am I doing?
Yeah, a lot of fuel. Yaman, I guess maybe it's because I'm used to watching Formula 1 and they're in and out before you can get up out of your chair. Yaman, he seemed to be in there a while, and I hope he wasn't having any issues or anything, because if Stevenson and Mura get quicker stops, well then, I'm sorry, teammate battle is over. Yaman will have to settle for the bronze medal today, Bill.
No, that was a 4-tire pit stop. I think he packed it full of fuel to go. Probably can't go the distance, but maybe he can milk it out with the yellow flag, which you guys don't think is going to come. Maybe he's done visiting his pit crew now. If not, it's a splash and go at the end, but he's got 4 fresh tires. It was a good pit stop. It just took a long time.
Well, guys, again, allow me to comment on that. The tires are much quicker to put on. That's why people are putting on 4 tires. It takes half the time to put the tires on as it takes to put the fuel into these cars. If you take in your full 6.4 gallons of fuel here, what's happening is that they've got to virtually, in the virtual sim racing world, they've got to use 2 cans of fuel because they can't get it all into one churn. So they've got to put the one churn in, then there's a couple of seconds of a pause, and then the second churn goes in. That's what takes so long. And if you're putting in 4.2 gallons of fuel, it is almost half the time. So it's all strategy, guys, all strategy.
Here comes Stevenson into the pits. So now we will finally get our answer, because Mura's in behind him on what different fuel strategies are these guys going to play, because if nothing changes, we should see Stevenson and Yamin come out side by side, which will be exciting in itself, and Mura a little ways behind him. Stevenson hits his marks perfectly. Mura, does he hit his marks perfectly? Yes, he does. So now the story is, where is Amjad Yamin? And currently he is actually in the battle with Bill Randleman all the way around the triple apex, turn 16, 17 and 18 right there. But if Mura and Stevenson are in there stall long enough, Yamin should be able to catch him up, and we'll see if there's any kind of battle. A Mustang in the pits there as well. Elliot Huffman. Remember, we think he may have short fuel during the first stop, and here goes Stevenson. He is leaving his pit stall right now. Yamin has just exited onto the front stretch. Stevenson is already getting up to speed. I have a feeling Stevenson's going to lead this race, and Mura may even have second. Yamin is only crossing the start-finish line, going by pit exit right now. Stevenson, Mura, Yamin.
Wow, that's very interesting. Let me get back onto my job here. Elliot Huffman was the first one to blink a bill of the GS class, and he's come in, he's taken tires, and he's taken not a heck of amount of fuel. So we'll see what happens there. Back to you, Bill.
What's interesting, Richard, is I've been watching this. Usually the Mustangs are usually my key. When the Mustangs start to pit, I know that the Miatas are going to be close behind. That wasn't the case this time. I wonder, maybe this track so fast that maybe the Miata's using up fuel faster. It makes no sense to me. What's interesting is the doctor was out. The doctor was not in the office there, as he's been snookered in the pit stops. But that still remains to be seen. Now, if there's one more stop to be made.
Well, you're absolutely right. The doctor, Amjad Yamin, he took full fuel, make no mistake, 6.4 gallons right to the top. The others, they were in and out a little bit quicker. Maybe they took 5.3 gallons, right? Will they have enough fuel to go to the end? We know that Amjad has enough fuel to go to the end, yeah, I think he does have enough fuel to go to the end.
Sam and Gus, I don't know if he does, but the question is, even if he doesn't, I know that was full of fuel. So if he has to make a pit, as we're watching Yamin get passed by a Mustang there, even if he needs to come in to pit, he'll take less fuel than Stevenson Humora, who might have short pitted. So it's hard to say. When I see the doctor get beat in pit stops, I think something's a little fishy. So I'm not sure if Stevenson and Mora took full loads.
The question I want to ask is, how many turns is it going to be until Overgaard and Giannis take each other out? They've been traded in positions about 4 times this lap. And finally, it looks like Giannis is going to come in, and they'll be able to keep their cars in one piece. Richard?
Yes, now JD Baumgartner came into the pits, so he is in right now, and maybe he's out already. But Steve Brown elected to stay out another lap or two, or maybe even more than that. So interesting strategies playing out here in the GS field as well. Very interesting stuff. Baldwin's in, Vandergriff's coming in, Elliot Huffman's been in, Jeff Jacobs still out there. So strategies all over the place. Hamont coming in. Now remember, Panu Pesserson he's got more fuel at the moment than any of the other guys, because he came in early. So with a bit of luck, he should be pushing up to the front now. He'll pass a whole bunch of these guys while they're still in the pits.
Yeah, and remember, although we weren't seeing battles in the GS class, they weren't too far away from each other, Richard. And if any of these drivers has a bad stop, like we saw with Yamin, there could certainly be positional changes. And I have a feeling we'll see Steve Brown and we'll certainly see Steve Brown come in soon, and we'll see where he comes out with relation to JD Baumgartner.
Well, that's right. He'll be the last of the GS class to pit. Everyone else has pitted, excepting for Jeff Jacobs. So we'll see what happens here. But now it's interesting to watch where Panu is in position when all the pit stops shake out, because, and bear in mind, he'll have to pit again. There's no question about that. But he will be taking a lot less fuel than the other guys, and the other guys may, and I do say may, have to pit again.
It's a possibility, but it will be an impressive performance by Pessonen if he is able to pull it off. Now I got my camera on Steve Brown right here because he is working his way through the final couple of corners right now. And we'll wait to see if he comes into the pits. Here he comes through turn 19, the star-spangled parking lot off to the side there. I guess it's more of a runoff area. And here he is. He comes down into the pits. And we'll see what kind of a stop he gets and how far he will come out behind JD Baumgartner, who is currently working his way around turn 15. That's the left-hander hairpin that leads into the triple apex turn 16, 17 and 18. So is Steve Brown going to hit his marks? Let's see, he's pulling into his pit stall right now. And onto the brakes, and yep, hits his pit stall perfectly. So we'll see him take tires and exit the pits and see where JD Baumgartner is in relation to him. Stefan Overgaard also coming into the pits right now. And JD Baumgartner is already in the final corner. And Steve Brown is only just getting his left sides changed right now. So JD's going to have a huge lead after this is all done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, JD was leading by quite a margin to start with. There goes JD. Past Steve comes out of the pits right now, so it's about the same. It's going to be about half of the length of the straight, maybe just a little less than that.
Panu.
There's Panu as well going past, but Panu still has to stop, so I'm sure Steve Brown will not be too worried. But on the other hand, Panu may hold him up for a while because Panu's tires must be at the close to their limits right now, but because Panu won't be going that much further before he has to stop as well. In fact, if I were Pano, I would have stopped before now and got my full fuel and new tires and then run to the end along with these guys, you know. But he didn't do that, so he's on a different strategy. Now, Steve Brown has it all to do once again. JD Baumgartner way out in front once again. They're not going to need to stop again, I don't think. So we'll see what happens as the race goes on towards the end. Bearing in mind we've got a little bit less than 40 minutes left now, or just a little bit more than 40 minutes left.
Alright, so we've been keeping up to date pretty well on the Mustang field after all the stops here. How's it looking in the Miata class, Bill?
Well, this is interesting. Arthur Chan has not come in for his, I guess it would be his second pit stop, because the first pit stop was under that early yellow. He's leading the race right now, but he's got right behind him is Stevenson and Mora. Now, those guys have already pitted. Kevin Brown is Chan's crew chief. I think...
Oh, so Chan is screwed.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think Kevin Brown is onto something here. I think if Chan comes in, he's only got this pit stop to make. You know, I can hear the guys watching this on the replay going to be yelling at me, no, we don't have to come in again. But I'm not sure Stevenson and Mora are done. I still think they have a splash and go to do, and so does Yaman. So I think Chan can go the distance. I could be wrong, but I think that's what's going on.
Well, if Kevin Brown is the crew chief, then you are wrong, my friend. Sorry about that. Kevin Brown and Arthur Chan were running second to us. They were running 50 seconds behind us in a recent team race. And Arthur Chan was saying, well, I owe it all to my, I give credit to Kevin Brown. Well, 50 seconds behind, mate. No credit there.
And look who's came in right behind him, Panu Pessonen. So this will be Panu's final stop. We'll see where he comes out in the Mustang battle.
Panu should have stopped the moment he saw the other guys go in. Then he's on equal footing with them. And he would have had to take... we would have had to taken as much fuel as they do, and then it could have been race on. But at this point in time, he's off strategy again, and I think he's going to lose out because of that. Meanwhile, I just saw a huge bobble there from James Stevenson. So not the best of corners for him right there. There comes Pano out now. We'll see where he comes out. This will be the last of the pit stops for the GS class, Samuel. After this, it's game on, and let's see who... Pano comes out behind. Who is that? Is that Dujon Baldwin in front of him? No, it's Arthur Hermont, so he's fallen back a little bit, so he's going to struggle from here on in to try and make up positions. But He's been Mr. Steadiness. He's raced very well. Let's see what he can do.
So the questions we've got to ask now is how many yellows are we going to see before the end of this sin, and who's going to have to come in for a splash of fuel or not, if anybody. So it's certainly going to be interesting, and within a couple of laps we will get the order, and that could be the order to the end of the race. It'll be interesting to find out. Meanwhile, looking at a battle here between James Stevenson, and who's that right behind him? That's Sergio Mora. Now, they're teammates, so they're not going to battle each other too hard, but they were getting awfully close there, Bill.
Yeah, they're teammates, but I don't know how far team loyalties go when you're battling for the championship. I wouldn't be surprised if Mora doesn't get around him. But again, we're going to talk fuel again, and I still think these guys have to come in again, and I can hear the drivers yelling at me on the replay. Send your complaints to GSRC. Don't send them to me if I have these pit strategies wrong. But I think Stevenson and Mora have to come in again. I think Yaman has to come in again. I put my money. I like where Arthur Chan's sitting right now, boys.
Yeah, and speaking on behalf of GSRC, if you would like to complain to Bill, please complain to Bill and not to GSRC.
No. I'm an employee. It goes to the office.
All right, guys. Let's have a look and see what's happening between the guys here. We've got Elliot Huffman sitting there in third place now. Dujon Boldrin not that far behind Elliot Huffman, so battle is on between third and fourth place at the moment in the GS class. Sean van der Griff far behind them. Panu Pesserson perhaps has a chance of catching. Oh, hang on, I missed something there. Arthur Hermont, that is. Okay, so these two guys are far behind. Dujon Boldrin and Elliot Huffman, this is where the battle will be, as they are in amongst the leaders of the ST class as well now. And it's very tough to pass on this course through these twisty sections of the course, Samuel. So it's not going to be very easy. See, they look at Elliot Huffman. Stevenson gives him as much room as possible so that there's no possible chance of contact, so he gets by and gets by safely. But that would have held up James Stevenson just a little bit. And of course the same problem is being faced by Sergio Mora and in fact Dujon Boldrin, who now passes Stevenson. Dujon Boldrin now has a legitimate shot at getting to Elliot Huffman, and the battle will be on here in a lap or two, I believe.
And you know who was falling in love with all of that was Amjad Yamin, because as these two ST leaders were letting the Mustang leaders by and actually lost a lot of time, I have a feeling when these drivers cross the line this time by, you're going to see a significantly quicker lap by the driver of that number 28 car.
Yeah, I was just looking at that too. I think Yaman was really happy with that as he's closing these guys in. Now, he's got probably 2 or 3 laps older tires. I don't think it's going to make that much a difference on these guys. We're really going to see if Yaman was pacing himself before when Stevenson was behind him. It's go time now, so we'll see what these guys really have. They can't sandbag any longer.
Yeah, well, there's 36 laps left to go, so like I say, we're still not entirely sure on how the fuel strategy is going to play out. But your top 3 in the Miata class is Stevenson, Mura, and Yamin. And the top 3 in the Mustang class are Baumgartner, Steve Brown, and Huffman.
That is correct. And Elliot Huffman is under attack by Dujon Boldrin. Now, I recall a couple of seasons ago, Dujon Boldrin was just racing in the mid-pack, and he's come on in leaps and bounds in this car. He's right on the rear bumper now of Elliot Huffman. Figuratively speaking, he's going to be able to make a move on him. He's got to choose his passing point very carefully, because as we've seen in previous laps, it's very hard to pass here, the best place being into turn number 1. So he might just bide his time here, Samuel, until they hit either that very long back straight, or indeed when they get after the last turn and get back onto the front straight. Those are the best passing zones on this track, I believe.
And here they come, up to one of them right now is this left-hander hairpin, but they go by a Miata, so that probably discouraged the Baldwin from making a move. But look at the round, Baldwin gets out of the turn, although granted he got a little bit of wheel spin. That's going to hurt his straight line speed, but he's going to tuck up behind the spoiler of Elliot Huffman and try and go through that hole in the air, and of which is a very windy day today, mind you, and get that draft and maybe make a look down the inside as they come into this left-hander, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Has he driven in too deep though? He certainly came in at a very fast speed, but no. An excellent pass there by Georgian Baldwin up into third place in the podium position in the Mustang class.
Well, he had that planned perfectly. He was going to go for it regardless. And that is exactly one of the passing zones we spoke about. Now, Elliot Huffman, though, hasn't given up. Elliot Huffman is on his bumper, and they will be coming very soon onto the front stretch. And let's see what Elliot can do when they get there, because, of course, Elliot now has the draft, and Elliot may indeed have enough to repass him. We shall see.
Meanwhile, you're not missing anything in front of this. JD Baumgartner has a 9-second lead over Steve Brown, and actually as I watch their times as they come across the line, that gap extends a little bit. But Baldwin gets a good run out of a final corner. It looks like he's going to pull away from Huffman. Remember, Huffman wasn't exactly too hot at the start of this race, but he came in the long run, Richard. Maybe he is doing a bit of tyre conservation and he'll be able to attack Baldwin later in the race.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If he can just keep in touch with Baldwin, that's good enough. Remembering, of course, that Baldwin is, let's see, Elliot Huffman is 24 points behind the leader, and may well, at the end of this race, be in the lead of the championship, because both he and Nicholas Bailey have run all the races so far, and it depends on what points they can drop. However, Baldwin is 46 points behind, so that is in fact 22 points the difference between these two. So they've got it all to fight for one position can make all the difference, Samuel.
What was that movie called where there was that guy in the world that was just one big ocean? Waterworld? And they always look for boats or something. I have a feeling sometimes when you're out there on the racetrack and you don't see another car at all, you kind of feel like that. You're just waiting to bump into someone else. Well, that has not been an issue in the Miata class today. These top 5 drivers have been in close contact with each other all day long. Stevenson, Mora and Yarmin are all within sights of one another. And then you go back to this battle for fourth on screen right now. Giannis and Overgaard, they've traded positions numerous times, Bill. And with 31 minutes left to go, I have a feeling it's not over yet.
Yeah, if I can get the director to go to the the Giannis Overgaard battle, literally these guys have been the entire race nose to tail. They don't quite have the pace to stay with the top 3, but these guys have really been going at it. But I'm telling you, it's one guy back. If we can get the director to go back to Arthur Chan, call your bookie, bet your next born child Arthur Chan's going to sneak a victory out on this one.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, you don't want that child anyway.
I'm more focused on these battles in front because, I mean, let's look at this realistically right now. Arthur Chan is in the hairpin leading out onto the backstretch. The leader of the Miata class is James Stevenson, and I can't exactly find his location right now. I think he's all the way over on the front stretch, so I have a feeling even if all of the Miata's leaders had to pit, Chan would not be in the lead, but who knows, I could be wrong, especially if a safety car comes out. Meanwhile, this battle between Giannis and Overgaard heats up a little bit, at least they're trying different lines. Overgaard has yet to attempt to pass, but I have a feeling that could be changing within the next couple of minutes. Oh, and as I say that, Overgaard runs off. He completely overcooked the turn 15 hairpin, and now Giannis has several car lengths on him. But I'm sure this isn't the last we've seen of that battle, Bill.
Well, I don't know. These guys are so evenly matched. That might be, just that little mistake might be too much to make up. And I'm sure Giannis just wouldn't mind a little bit of a breather after all this time battling like that.
Meanwhile, I mean, I know we don't always bring our attention to the back of the field, but Stefan Morian has had issues today. I don't know if his attitude to this circuit is like that of Richard Losber's, but he's just been letting cars by, Mustangs and Miatas alike, whenever they've came up to lap him, Richard.
Yeah, quite unlike Stefan Morian, he's normally quite a hard charger, but I don't think he has any, he's got any, not, I wouldn't say interest, but he's got any hopes of going anywhere in this championship. He's only raced 1 or 2 races, so he's got nothing, there's nothing at stake for him in this race except, let's have some fun racing. So he's not going to hold anyone up who has been racing all season long and has any chance in the championship. He probably doesn't even know who's leading the championship. So I'm not too surprised by the fact that he's letting people by him.
Meanwhile, as the field is a bit spaced out now, especially with Overgaard's mistake, the drivers are becoming, I guess, silent in the stream, if you will, and honestly, not a whole lot of chance of a full course yellow coming out right now, although granted the 2 crashes we've seen today were single car incidents, one of which did bring out a safety car, and if that is the case, you've got to begin wondering who's going to be thinking about fuel as we reach the closing stages here with 28 minutes left to go, Bill.
Well, I think they're all thinking about fuel, but again, send those emails to GSRC, not to me. Stevenson, Bora, Yaman, in the ST class, Yaman was the first guy to come in early, so it's hard to say. We saw Stevenson milking it. Maybe they can go the distance. Maybe my math is wrong. I never did make it through trigonometry. I did get up there through algebra, though, so if I need to figure out, like, the radius of a corner, maybe I can do that. Fuel miles, maybe not my forte.
Well, I actually was pretty good at trigonometry, Bill, but I still haven't worked out a way to apply it into real life yet. If you could help me with that, that'd be good.
Well, if you're a trigonometry teacher, it works that way.
Well, guys, let's get back to the action here. I'm not quite sure what you guys are talking about now. Trigonometry, I thought that was something to do with guns, but anyway. We have a little battle starting to loom here between Arthur Hammond and Panu Pessinen. So he's catching Panu, there's no doubt about that. So Panu, his strategy has not worked for him today. He was up very, very much higher than he is at the moment. Arthur Hammond's been very quiet throughout the race, and even though he is in 8th place, which is only 3 guys behind him, and those have all mostly, almost retired. He is making a nice move here to catch up to Panu Pessinen and hopefully grab an extra spot. So good luck to him. Let's see if that will happen.
And taking a page out of the book of trigonometry written by Richard Losber, we are going to pull the trigger on this segment of the race and take our take a break here with 25 minutes left to go and see what lies in store ahead when we come back.
Well, that's a professional segue, buddy. Nice job.
When we left, we said there weren't any battles. Well, Mura has ran down Stevenson and passed him for the lead, but you can bet it's not over with 23 minutes left to go. And they got GS leaders coming up, well, not leaders, mid-pack rather, coming up. They're in their own battle on themselves. Now, they should be able to get by the Miatas on the front stretch here, but if they hold up Mura in the ensuing S's, that could give Stevenson an opportunity to pass again. Here goes Jeff Jacobs, here goes Panu Pessanen. They're both going by on the straight. We're watching replay of the battle between Mura and Stevenson there. Right now it is Mura in the lead with 22 minutes left to go. They just made their way through turn 1. There's been no more passing. And Mura is sitting in the catbird seat right now.
Well,
or at least in first position.
Well, that's the catbird seat in my opinion. If you want to talk team strategy, maybe it's not time for Mura and Stevenson to be going at it yet. Any battle they have is just going to let Yaman back in. Maybe they can decide to put that battle off until the last couple laps when they know they don't have to worry about Yaman getting back in it. Yaman's sitting back there in third place. Look at those Mustangs, boy, in front of those Miatas.
Yeah,
and
look at those
Panu
Mustangs
Pessanen making a move on Jeff Jacobs there, and Arthur Hermond passing both Stevenson and Mura. Panu gets the job done. Arthur Hermond struggled to get that corner now. He's under attack by both Stevenson and Mura, and thankfully he gets out of the way so that these two can continue with their battle and he can continue on with his. But I tell you what, that was a little bit of touch and go there.
Yamin's loving it. Look at Amjad Yamin. He is really within at least camera distance of these guys right now. While Mura and Stevenson have been battling for the lead while letting battles between the Mustangs go by them, Yamin has had the clean track to himself, and if he can put a couple of good laps together, he will be within the draft, within the slipstream of Stevenson, and we'll have our top 3 Miatas in the championship battling for the win maybe in the closing minutes here at Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, Richard and Sam, this track is so big, it took a long time for traffic to become a factor, but finally the Mustangs made it around and it became an issue, and those guys got caught up. And as is often the case, it's when the two classes mix together that I guess that's much like society as well, that things happen.
Well, guys, I can report that there's not much happening besides that battle between Pessanen and Jacobs. There's not much happening. JD Bumgardner, brilliant driving today. Let's hope we don't put the commentator's curse on him. Out there leading by almost 12 seconds. I suspect when he does cross the line, it will be more than 12 seconds. Steve Brown, a beautiful race from him, and in second place. Won't do his championship hopes any harm at all. Dujon Baldwin and Elliot Huffman spaced out, but running in third and fourth. Sean van der Griff had some promise early, now running in 5th place. And then, of course, you've got Pessanen and Jacobs. They are the closest thing to a battle. So back to you, Samuel. I'm sure it's much better in the ST at this point.
Not yet, but within soon it very well should be. I have a feeling there's really not more than 4 seconds between first and third in the Miata class right now, and that's something to say, especially when there's 19 minutes left in the race that has only seen 1 safety car period, and that was very early on. Mura currently leading, his teammate Stevenson second, and let's not forget that if my report is correct here, Stevenson has not had a win this season. And what happened to Mura there? He got a very bad exit out of a turn, and Stevenson is right on him. He's looking to the outside as they go down the back stretch, which I think is a bit of a mistake. He should probably be behind Mura trying to get the slipstream. But look at that, Stevenson backs off as they go down the back stretch. I have a feeling he doesn't want to battle Mura just yet, because he knows if that happens, Yamin will run up on them. Why not remain single file for a little bit longer, pull away from Yamin, and then they can duke it out between themselves in the closing stages. But I have a feeling that Stevenson could have taken the fight to Mura if he really wanted to there, Bill.
Yeah, but I think the backing off really didn't help him with Yaman because he backed right off, almost back into Yaman to where he can go ahead and grab him down the straightaway now and get a draft. I mean, Yaman's there now as far as Amjad's thinking. He's in the hunt.
Yeah, you're not wrong there, Bill. Amjad Yaman can see these guys now. He's only a matter of 1 or so seconds away from Stevenson. Stevenson and Mora really have to be thinking now about what Amjad Yaman could do to them. Now, as far as the battle between the teams are concerned, this is not a team race, of course, but still there are teams, and these guys are all getting ready for next season when there will be teams. But right now, Amjad Yaman, and I have to say he's a buddy of mine. I really like the guy, but I absolutely hate him when it comes to racing in the Continental Series, because he has been the fly in the ointment of our team, the Asbury Motorsports team. So boo to you, Amjad. Stay behind these guys.
I don't think he can hear you, Richard.
Well, he'll be watching the broadcast. He'll be watching the broadcast later.
Richard missed the seminar about impartiality in the booth here.
No impartiality in this booth.
Well,
look, in all fairness, look at Mura go now, and look at Amjad catch Stevenson.
This is playing right into Mura's hands, because if those two begin battling, Mura can certainly pull away and take an easy win here with 16 minutes left. Let's not forget we don't entirely know about the fuel strategy.
Right.
And really, though, this track, because it is so big, it has big straights, such as the one they're going on right now. You really need to be within a second or two of a car in front. Not, of course, at these Miatas of DRS like they do in Formula 1, but because you just need to be able to take advantage of that draft, the slipstream down the backstretch. Stevenson is still close enough to Mura, in my opinion, that he's getting a bit of that, but he's got to be a bit careful, Bill, because if he drops any further back, Mura's just going to run away.
Yeah, see, let's go back to that last pit stop. When they came in, Yaman was out in front. I know that he took 4 tires and packed it full of fuel. Mora and Stevenson both jumped Yaman, so I have to assume they took a little less fuel, thinking they didn't need to go all the way. Maybe they're worried about fuel right now. I still think that's going to be an issue.
You may be right, Bill. You may be right. There's a song that says you may be wrong, but
Billy Joel, baby.
You may be right as well. So definitely Amjad Yaman. This is adding spice to the whole thing here, Samuel. Amjad Yaman is most definitely in the hunt here now. He is right on them. So they have to both battle each other and try to get the win. Stevenson has had a win. Stevenson had no wins. I think Mura has had 1 win. I could be wrong, but Amjad has had a whole bunch of wins. So they will want to keep him behind them as far as is humanly possible. As we see Stevenson now into turn 1, right on the back of Mura. So that advantage that Mura had is gone. But at the same time, they battle too hard, as you were saying, Bill. Guess what? Mr. Amjad, Dr. Yaman, will be right there in amongst them, and he is not going to try and play second fiddle to any one of these guys.
And then, of course, there's Arthur Chan.
Yes, there is Arthur Chan.
You guys,
there is also a couple of the back markers out there. You never know if they all.
No, I'm telling you, Arthur's playing it cool, saving his gas. These guys are going to run out of gas. Arthur's going to sneak a victory here.
All right, well, let's see what happens here, because they're certainly closer than they've ever been before. J.D. Baumgartner, Steve Brown, and Dujan Baldwin are the Mustang leaders. We're probably not going to mention them a whole lot in the next 15 minutes, so that's why I wanted to get that out there. Mura does not get a good exit out of a turn leading onto the backstretch. Stevenson does. However, last time Stevenson was on Mura's bumper, he backed off. Look. Why is Stevenson not defending to the inside, trying to get Mura's slipstream and putting a block on Yamin? Is he working with Mura secretly just to beat Yamin, or does he want that lead? I would assume the second, but they're all staying single file, despite the fact that Stevenson and Yamin get very close there. Despite the fact I actually feel Stevenson could have had an opportunity to take the lead from Mura there.
And Yaman got right on the back there, Bill, of Stevenson. In fact, there's a risk of some contact here as Yaman he's not holding back. He's pulling out all the stops. He wants to get in front of these guys. He might win this race if these guys race too hard with each other and race too hard with him. And sometimes Yaman makes mistakes. We've seen that happen before when he did a nothing less than you could call a dive bomb on Stevenson before at where was that race? It was Mossport. So it could be a mistake happens on his part. So let's see what happens here. I'm not liking this at all, but from a racing point of view, very exciting as they go onto the front stretch again.
Oh, Sam, I would give anything to look inside the cockpit and see if I could see the fuel gauge of Mora and Stevenson. I really think they short pitted to get around Yaman in that pit stop. I think they're worried about fuel. Here comes Yaman.
Yes, Stevenson, he could have made a move on Mura there, but once again he backed off. Is he trying to save fuel maybe? Maybe he thinks, hey, I'll just keep running Mura hard and maybe he'll run out of fuel and I can get the win that way. That could be a possibility. But I do want to note that if these three drivers do take each other out, we will have a battle for the lead still between Stefan Overgaard and Dranis. And actually, Overgaard has just gotten by Dranis. Not entirely sure what happened there. But we'll keep our cameras up here. That is the battle for fourth. Mura in the lead. Stevenson riding second happily. But he's got to be careful. He's got to play a bit defensive because if Yaman gets by him, the fight is going to be on.
Watch when we get onto that long back straight there. This is going to be on because he will have the full draft. This is Yaman. He will have the full draft of both these cars in front of them. And when you've got a train, the draft is actually stronger as they now go onto the back stretch. They got good exits. They're better than Yaman. But Yaman coming at them now. Let's see what he does at the end of this straight, Bill. That's the critical part.
Boy, it seems like every race in this series, it's the same three guys up here almost every time. Morris, Stevenson, and Yaman in some shake-up of the order. Here comes Yaman on the inside.
He's going to try. He's going to get Stevenson. He may even get Mura.
Maybe two.
No! Mura able to hold on to it, and that was a mistake by Stevenson that I feared, and I'm sure that he feared as well, that by backing off and giving Mura the lead of the race, he left himself open to attack by Amjad Yaman, and now Yaman's taken that position, and Mura, fuel or not, that's contact!
That's
very
so close! No touch, though!
Not yet! Yaman in second! Mura being able to run away a bit. He'll be able to save a bit of fuel if that is a concern for him. And you bet that Stevenson, I have a feeling he's not going to save gas forever behind Yaman here.
Wow. That last move by Stevenson. I was ready to call the crash.
That was very, very close. Now, he can sit behind Yaman. Yaman's in attack mode. Yaman will have a go at Mora, Mora on the backstretch again. But at the same time, Stevenson will be able to sit back behind the two of them and get the draft as he goes hard into turn one. He's determined to take the place back. He does, but Mora will be on the inside, Samuel. This is extremely exciting stuff from ST, and it's going to go all the way to the last turn.
It is at this moment. Meanwhile, Mura running away a little bit. Yaman able to hold on to second. Stevenson, though, certainly within striking range. And as long as he gets a good run out onto that backstretch, he will most definitely attempt to pass on Amjad Yaman. 9.5 minutes left. That's that's only about 4 or 5 more laps around here. They're currently working lap 42 of this race. Here Yaman, he comes, leading Stevenson around to the far side of the circuit. This is a hairpin, but I would be surprised if Stevenson makes his move here. What Stevenson is going to do instead is try and get the best exit possible and try and get the run down the backstretch. He gets a pretty good exit. He's certainly within striking range here, Bill.
Yeah, it's, again, Mora well out in front. I'd love to see that fuel tank. It's hard to say if these guys, remember they jumped Yaman on the pit stop. It's hard to say if they took the right amount of fuel. They may have saved a little bit. That's may have what what let Yaman back into the battle. They're running 1, 2, 3 right now. You know, these guys were only 3/100ths of a second off each other during their qualifying time, so they are equally matched.
You know what, Samuel Stevenson, James could have made a move on Yaman there. He did not. So he's still playing some game there, and maybe holding off till the last lap. Not a bad strategy, because the last thing you want to do is battle. Right now he needs to work with Yaman so he can get closer to Sergio Moura. And that is happening as Amjad Yaman catches up a little bit on Sergio Moura. Stevenson just comes along with him, so maybe this is going to come down to the last lap, or at least the second last lap. But Sergio Moura got the bit between his teeth right now, Samuel. He's putting it to them. Catch me if you can.
Are they working together, or is Stevenson saving fuel behind Yamin? Because Moura's lap time last time around was a 2:34.7. They've been running 2:33s most of the race, and as I say that, Moura puts on the 2:33. Maybe he saw the... as a matter of fact, Moura and Yamin ran identical lap times that time around. There's about a second gap in between them. Yamin much laid on the brakes, and remember, if Yamin gets confident enough that he doesn't have to worry about Stevenson anymore, all he needs to do is get the draft of Sergio Moura, keep up with him, and he should be in the striking range within the closing laps of this race. 7 minutes and 10 seconds left to go. That's about 3 or 4 more times around.
And guys, I'm just checking in to make sure that all is nothing's changed in the GS class. It has not. JD Bumgardner well ahead of Steve Brown, well ahead of Dujon Baldwin. That's your top 3. Elliot Huffman is in there in 4th place, and Sean Vandergriff well behind them. No battles here. Back to you guys.
What's happened to Stevenson? He seems to have lost a bit of ground to Yamin now. He's certainly not out of it, but that's going to give Yamin an opportunity to not worry about Stevenson a little bit and just close in on that number 99, black and blue, AMS Miata of Sergio Moura, who, as cool as these drivers are under pressure, you have to be a race car driver, real or virtual, and for some of these drivers, that is the case in both worlds, as a matter of fact. However, Moura, I have a feeling, Bill, is very aware of the fact that Yamin is behind him, and I have a feeling that may begin to start having an impact on his driving.
Well, let's go ahead and throw in another factor that you never think about, and that's time zone. Amjad Yaman's from Texas right now. It's the early evening for them. Moura and Stevenson's from Australia. No one ever knows what time it is in Australia, and Moura is in Europe. It's late into Saturday night there for them. So, how long have they been up? Maybe coffee and caffeine plays a factor.
What time is it in Australia, Richard?
Time is now coming up to 11 a.m. Now, these guys have been going, Stevenson would have been going since 7 a.m. this morning, our time, so it's not too bad. I mean, you just get a good night's sleep, get some rest, get up early, and you're ready to go. I'm not sure about Sergio Moura, though. He's been up a lot longer.
Yeah, but Saturday night, that's what nightlife is for. Anyway, let's take a look at the lap times that time around. Moura actually able to pull out a couple of tenths on Yamin. It's certainly not over yet. And I can't remember who the first driver was in our last cycle of pit stops. So I'm not sure who we should be keeping the eye on to see who comes down into the pits. But so far, no one has came into the pits. And meanwhile, I have noticed something in the Mustang class that Jeff Jacobs has actually lost 2 spots over about the last 10 minutes to Paul Passinen, who's moved up to 6th, and Arthur Hermont has moved up to 7th. But that's that. Let's go back to this battle for the lead in the Miata class.
Well, guys, let me just say that the iRacing time is showing a lapse time of 1 minute 59. So we director can tell us exactly what the elapsed time is. So how much to go?
4 minutes and 10 seconds.
So 4 minutes and 10 seconds. So they complete this lap, and they might be getting a white flag on the next lap because they've still got they're only halfway through this lap right now. Very interesting. It's go time, as Bill would say, go time.
Well, Richard and Sam, one of the best passing zones on this track is turn 1. You get a good run out of the last corner, and you have that long straight up the hill, and you get them in turn 1. but I'm not sure that's enough time to make a pass on the last lap because you don't have the whole straightaway. The finish line is about halfway down that straightaway. I think if you're going to make a move, if Amjad Yaman's going to make a move, he's going to have to do it before the white flag comes out.
I just want to put
Stevenson
this
has
out
closed
there.
right up. Sorry, Samuel. Sorry, go ahead.
Amjad Yamin ran a 2:32.7 last lap around. That would have put him on pole position for this race. That is actually faster than the pole sitting ST qualifying time. Richard.
But bearing in mind they've got, very little fuel in the tank at the moment, so your times are going to be faster. What I wanted to note is that James Stevenson has caught up with Amjad Yaman again. He is going to put a move on him. They have to do it this lap. Sergio Mura has kept out in front of these two, running a brilliant race at the moment. Whoa! Amjad launches the car into that particular turn. Doesn't get rid of James Stevenson. James brakes early. That's going to hurt him. But now they come onto the front straight now. See, he doesn't have enough to catch up before the end of the front straight, Bill. So tell me, guys, if you guys can see if this is the last lap.
Now, JD Baumgartner is currently coming, he is just approaching the final sector right now. He's working his way around turn 15. When he crosses the line, there will be 2 minutes left, so that the white flag could come out then. I'm not entirely sure. We've either got 1 lap or 2 laps left when JD Baumgartner crosses the line. I have a feeling it will be 1 lap left, but don't be surprised if it's 2. All right.
And look at James Stevenson. Now you can see he is racing. He is racing as hard as he possibly can. These guys are catching Mura, although Mura got held up just a fraction there. No, he didn't get held up. He obviously is being caught, but they're going to come up to a lapped car here. Isn't that always the way? When you're racing at your hardest, there's a lapped car waiting to stall your progress. This could work in Amjad's favor. It could he's gotten right out of the way. And James Stevenson, Bill, these guys are racing awesome.
Talk about car control, huh?
Absolutely. And still, James Stevenson does not have enough, Samuel. And still, Sergio Mura is just keeping everything as tight as he can. And still, he has that lead. Amjad Yaman cannot catch him. So, I think Sergio's going to win this race. But it's going to be between Yaman and indeed James Stevenson as to who gets second. Unless there's some very risky move taken by either of these three. And that could happen, Bill. They could take each other out.
We've seen cars sputter around the last corner, so you don't know how much fuel these guys have. I'm really concerned that Mora and Stevenson did not take a full load.
Definitely. He's looking very, very, very. No, he doesn't have enough. I tell you what, these guys, they must be super aware of where each of the other drivers are, or the driver you're battling with, certainly. Now they come into that very tight corner. Look at Stevenson. He wants that position. He launches onto the front stretch, and he takes the position, Samuel, from Amjad Yaman. Now, Amjad Yaman, if this is the last lap, Amjad has one last chance to overtake. That is not going to be at the end of this straight. It's going to have to be at the end of the back stretch there. So, this is exciting.
And Sam, they're running in inverse order to the standings. Mora was in third in the standing, running first. Stevenson was in second. He's in second, and your points leader is running in third.
Yep, and here comes JD Baumgartner through the last couple of corners right now. We'll be back to the Miata battle in a moment. That looks like Mura's going to wrap up. But I'll tell you what, JD Baumgartner has dominated practice, he's dominated qualifying, he's dominated the race, he's got the fastest lap. He's been unbeatable at Circuit of the Americas today. JD Baumgartner crosses the line and takes the checkered flag for the win here at Circuit of the Americas. Back to the Miata battle.
And the Miata battle, Bill, is on. It has not changed at all.
Half a chance out of fuel. Sorry, just a note there. We'll give Kevin a hard time about that later.
Well, nobody's saving fuel here. I can tell you, they are. This is it. This is the last throw off the
Moore
dice.
made a mistake. Look at this.
Moore gets a bad exit there. Stevenson breezes on by. I don't know if that was planned. It could have been planned. Look at that. Moore gives up the spot. Is he going to try and battle for it? Go side by side? Or what is he going to do? Here comes Amjad Yemen. This is too much for me, Samuel. Please take over right now because I can't stand it.
Yeah, that was a mistake by Moore, and it could be costly, although he takes a look down the inside of Stevenson. It's not over yet. Arthur Tran has got him going again, so I'm not entirely sure what that's about. Here goes Yamin. He's down the inside of Moore. Then our teammates, Moore gets very close to the back of Stevenson. Stevenson's won this race right now, providing he's got enough fuel. Yamin takes a position from Moore. Moore could look down the inside here, or he could look down the outside. He may try a crossover here, but this triple apex right-hander is not a good overtaking opportunity. Yamin knows that, so he goes defensive on the inside to make sure that if Moor's going to do it, he's got to attempt to make it in the final turn. While this was going on though, Stevenson has absolutely ran ahead of him. James Stevenson looks like he's going to get his first win of 2014 in the CES Miata class. Yamin right out of a penultimate turn, but he's got enough of a lead over Moore that looks like he's going to secure second. Here comes Stevenson, here comes Yamin, here comes Moore. They're going to finish 1, 2, 3 in the ST class today.
Fantastic racing. I am clapping here for all three of those guys. They
Wait a minute.
racing their Bill.
No, it looks like, I think Yaman ran out of gas. I don't know if he got third or not.
Oh, I don't know. No, it's showing up him second on the standing. So I think, and they just crossed the line. So, in fact, I think he did get through. He's still running, so he's not out of gas.
He coasted across. Ooh, that was close.
What about
It was
Stefan
close.
Overgaard? He's stopped. Did he make it across the line? No, Stefan Overgaard had to pit, it looks like, on the final lap. I'm not entirely sure what's happened there.
Well, he's just stopped. We'll have to go back and see what happened on the final lap. But certainly, I see the chat is... the chat is not very flattering towards Amjad Yemen there. We'll talk about that a bit later on, and we'll have to go and have a look at that lap again. Looked pretty fair to me, though, I have to say.
Well, you know what? We've got a lot of sorting out to do here. We'll take a quick break to try and work it all out. Congratulations, James Stevenson. Congratulations, JD Baumgartner. We'll be back with interviews with them, maybe a couple of replays and your race results here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hello and welcome back to the Circuit of the Americas, where we just saw the best of both worlds as far as racing is concerned in the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series. We saw a race where the leader just showed the field off, and that was JD Baumgartner in the GS field, and we saw a race where we weren't sure who the winner was until they all came out of a final turn, and that was James Stevenson in ST. Let's take you down the full rundown. As far as GS is concerned, JD Baumgartner was the victor there, in front of Steve Brown and Dahljon Baldwin. Elliot Huffman and Panu Pessanen rounded out the top 5. Then Sean Vandergriff, Arthur Hermont and Jeff Jacobs were the last Mustangs across the line. They were all on the lead lap. There were 3 Mustangs who started the race that didn't finish. They were Paul Hessler and James Alex Brown were involved in crashes, and Jason Poisson didn't actually start the race. How does the ST rundown look, Bill?
Okay, well, our winner was James Stevenson, and Amjad Yaman finished second place, and a close third was Sergio Mora. I'll be interested to hear what happened to Amjad Yaman. It looks like he missed a shift maybe on the straightaway, almost finished third. Fourth place, Yuri Yanis. Fifth place, Bill Randeman. Sixth place, Arthur Chan in a Rumpelstiltskin-site situation. You guys have lost your firstborn. Sorry, don't listen to me about that. Arthur didn't come through with the win like I thought. Matthew Reinhold finishing in 7th. Stefan Overgaard in 8th. We think he ran out of fuel on the last lap. Tom Eklund in 9th. Stefan, the friendly Canadian Morian, in 10th. And ending his race early was David Wemmen.
Alright, well, before we all pick up our books and remember the story of Rumpelstiltskin, we got some interviews to do, and Richard Losberg's called up with our winner, our Mustang winner, who dominated today, and that is JD Baumgartner.
JD Baumgartner. Been a long time between drinks sitting there in victory lane, my friend.
How's it going, guys?
JD, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now.
All right. I'll repeat what I said. It's been a long time between drinks, JD, but here you are today in victory lane.
Yes, it has been. Fairly surprised. This track is the devil.
Well, yes. I mean, it's a very, very tough track for any sports car, really. It's built for Formula One racing, but you showed, you were fastest in practice, you were fast in the qualifying, and you showed in the race that you had, you commanded from lap 1. But something happened, obviously, towards the end there, because at one stage you were 11 seconds ahead, and I do need to tell you that we were watching the ST battle, which was furious, and so we weren't keeping up exactly what was going on in the GS battle. But from 11 seconds to 3.8 at the end there, what happened?
I backed off to make sure that we took the white flag early. I didn't have enough gas to run an extra lap. I know pretty much everybody didn't have enough gas to run an extra lap. So the only way I was going to make it was to back up towards Steve and let the clock run out.
Saved yourself a lap. Well, that is creative thinking. I wouldn't have thought about that in 1,000 years. So good on you. So how do you feel, JD? I know you haven't raced much this season. You're not in the championship hunt, but it's still good to get a win, hey?
It feels real good, especially this is the first time I've had a pole in this league, and this is the first race I've won where I actually won on speed. The other ones I've gotten have been pit strategy or lucky cautions or something. So this feels real good, especially at this track. I struggle here in everything, and so this was really a surprise.
Well, obviously the others struggled just a little more than you did if you were indeed struggling. JD, congratulations. Podium, P1, and good feeling for you. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you, sir.
Back to you, Samuel.
Yes, our second place finisher today, as far as the GS class is concerned, is Steve Brown, and he was pretty much running up there in the podium position all race long. Steve Brown, you got a solid second place finish here. JD Baumgartner, he had a lot of pace. Did you have anything for him?
No, not at all. After about 5 laps or so, my tires were shot, and I certainly didn't have his pace.
A lot of green flag running there. How were you able to keep up the pace, considering this isn't exactly the track that's most conducive to... it doesn't exactly have a great flow as far as the Mustangs are concerned.
Actually, I kind of enjoyed it. I enjoy all the corners. There's some that they open up, and then there's others that close off, and it's tough in the Mustang. There's corners where you're going like 30 miles an hour, it feels like, but I enjoy the track. It's just a little boring when you're running by yourself, but it certainly was tough, and my knee is hurting pretty good right now. There's a lot of green flag running, and I don't know off the gas throughout the whole lap.
Yeah, well, it was tough, but maybe it was boring, but at the end it was very rewarding to come away with the second place finish here. I see you also running up there solidly in the points. How does this, what are your goals as far as the championship is concerned, finishing second, third or fourth as we come to the end of the championship here?
Well, again, I think I did what I needed to do, but with the way the bonus points come out, I actually end up losing points to the three drivers in front of me. So I think we're going to be discussing some changes with that, but it's kind of ridiculous for me to win and come in second, beating all my championship contenders and not gain a single point on them in 2 rounds.
Well, yeah, certainly it's a bit of an off-season coming up after the final round. Maybe there will be some changes. I'm not exactly well-versed in the politics of the series, so I will not comment on that. But what I will say is you put on an impressive drive today, second, and we look forward to seeing you again for the finale, and maybe you'll be able to pick off one more spot there.
Thanks, guys.
Alright, so that is our top 2 finishers over in the Mustang class. Now we get to speak to the drivers who were involved in that exciting battle at the end there. And that will be James Stevenson, who was the winner of the ST class. And I believe, Bill, you've caught up with James.
I got him. James, congratulations on your first win of the series. I imagine you've probably done the math now and you know where you stand in the points. I have 3 questions for you. We're going to start, first of all, with the final pit stop. You were running behind Amjad Yaman when you came in, and when you came out, you had quite a bit of distance on him. Were you worried? Did you short fuel? Were you worried about fuel at the end?
No, I pitted a lap later than him and filled the tank right up, so I'm not sure if he got a penalty or something in his pit stop, but there shouldn't have really been that big of a difference.
So fuel wasn't an issue for you the whole way. Let's go to my second question. You took our breath away in the booth there when you were behind, when the laps were closing down, you were running in third. There were a couple amazing moves. They weren't successful that you made on Amjad. Did you scare yourself a little bit there, or were you in complete control?
Oh, today's the first time I've actually driven this car at this track, and the only other cars I've driven here are a Formula 1 car and a GT3 car, so there are moves that work in those cars and they don't work in an MX-5, so a little bit of brown undies.
It was amazing. And before I forget it, congratulations to all 3 of you for putting on a great show, and all 3 of you brought it home without a dent on the car. Then you're running third with about, a few minutes to go. You get by Yaman, and then you had an easy pass there on Mora for the lead.
Yeah, I think he just crumbled a little bit under the pressure there. I wasn't even that close to him, so not sure what happened there, but I'll take it.
Well, you were a few points down this victory, and you were pretty clean this race. We were watching you. I don't think that you were off. I don't see a lot of penalty points for going off the track, so I think you're going to be pretty darn close to back on top of the standings, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, 7 points in the lead, so a 14-point swing against Amjad because he was off track quite a bit.
I knew you'd have the answer for me. Well, congratulations. You're where you want to be. You are in. It's yours to lose now with 1 race to go. Congratulations, and we'll see you next week. Next race.
Thanks, guys.
Back to you, Sammy.
Yeah, that was Amjad Yaman, victor today as far as the... Sorry, that was James Stevenson, the victor today, and I'm getting a bit ahead of myself because Amjad Yaman was our second place finisher, and Richard Losper has caught up with him.
Amjad, I have 3 questions for you, just as Bill had 3 questions for the winner, which was, of course, James Stevenson. Now, you were leading the race early on for quite some time, and James Stevenson was behind you. And it didn't seem to me, anyway, in the booth here, that he was trying to attempt a pass on you. Did you think you were going fast enough to hold him at bay so he couldn't pass, or do you agree with me that he was just sitting behind you, waiting, just cruising, really?
Oh, I think it was pretty obvious that he was just cruising, saving fuel. Seeing how I lost 6 seconds on that pit stop. About 2 to 3 of it was because I was stuck in traffic, unfortunately, and the other part of it, I'm sure it was him saving fuel.
Yeah, that was going to be my second question. So on the last pit stop, everyone goes in for their pit stops. You had a long pit stop compared to both Sergio Mura and James Stevenson. And in fact, as you say, you came out about 5 or 6 seconds behind them. So was that just a mistake in the pits, or just normal pit stop, but you had to really fill up?
I think I just buffered too much. I mean, I had about a lap of fuel left in the tank when I was done, and I guess with the way how slow that that the refueling takes, that if you miss it by a tenth, that's almost a second in the pits. So, I'm just playing a little bit too safe on my pit strategy.
Yeah. All right. And the last question I have for you, that last lap. Now, you guys put on quite a show for us and for the viewers, make no mistake. Very exciting driving. Very clean, I thought. And I see in the chat that Sergio Mura was not all that happy. He's not around right here now. You'll watch it on the broadcast, no doubt. But what was your view of what he's talking about?
I don't know. I mean, it's last lap. It's a battering track. I'm trying to pass him. I don't know exactly what he's complaining about. If he didn't want me to pass, then he should have protected the inside completely.
Well, I have to say that we in the booth do agree with you. It was hard racing, no doubt. It was an incredible last lap there.
Richard, can I butt in? Can I butt in for just a question? Amjad, on the last, I'm sorry, but on the last corner, did you miss a shift going to the start finish line, or it looks like you almost lost the third place finish or second place finish?
No, we used the Formula One start finish line. Towards the exit of the last.
Got it.
So
Okay.
I was safely in second there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so on the, like we say, you guys were putting on a really good show, and we in the booth, we had a good look, and it seemed fair. It was hard racing, but everything was fair. Sergio Mura made a big mistake just before going on to the the final straight there, and both you guys caught it. I mean, James just flew by him, and then it was between yourself and Sergio for a few corners. And that corner, there were 3 of you almost going together into that corner, although James was just slightly ahead. That was touch and go. I mean, you guys were superb in managing to keep your line and not get into the other car.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind all the shenanigans that we had. It was good fun. James had a little contact with me, and I didn't mind it. So, I mean, when you drive these cars, you gotta expect a little bit of contact.
Well, I think you're right. And look, I congratulate you on that second place, first of all. And I congratulate all of you, particularly in the top 3, for just giving us some really great racing. Good on you, man. And we'll see you for the final. It all comes down to that final race now. I think James might be a little way ahead of you in the championship now.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm a 14-point swing. I'm reading, so I'm down 7 now. Yeah, that's just 7 points I have to make up.
That's right. That's the spirit. All right, my friend. Thank you for talking to us. You are my friend. Make no mistake. Even though when you're driving in those colors and not AMS, then I have to stick with my teammates. But you're a great driver, and I take my hat off to you, buddy.
Thank you.
All right. That is it for us, Samuel. Back to you, my friend. Great race from my point of view.
I'm glad to hear you call me your friend, Richard. Is Bill your friend too?
Bill, I'm still working on that. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, He's mad because I interrupted his interview.
No, I'm not, Bill. No problem.
Go ahead, Sam.
All right, and we'll wait to see if our colleague Kevin Brown is still our friend at the end of the race, since we questioned Arthur's fuel strategy so much. Some people who certainly are our friends are the drivers and sponsors that were able to put this race on. That includes Safecraft Racing, easy for me to say, and also Wes Eric, the organiser of this league. We would also like to thank various software we use during the stream: iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch.tv, Audio Technica, and Ava Media. A special thanks to birthday boy Dougie Beard today for the cameras that you saw here, and thanks to the team today, Joe Peak, and I haven't updated this, Joe Peak, Richard Losper, and Bill Zahn. If you would like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel, and Facebook at facebook.com/globalsimracingchannel. A special thank you to Eric at Com, who provides us with much of our music. You can find it not only here on GSRC, but in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and Spotify. If you like our music, tell Eric where you heard it at eric@com.com. Additional thanks go out to Casey Lalonde, who also provides us with much of our music for our broadcasts. You can find more of his music at caseylalonde.bandcamp.com. Our next race will be the season finale at Road Atlanta, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time on Saturday, December 13th. That's about 3 weeks away. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and I'll see you on the track.